guy that I was at art college with had a sampler.
Oh, okay.
He was a year above me, and he said, "Come round, and we'll muck about." And I sort of figuratively poured my record bag into his sampler, and out came this record, and it was a collage in every sense of the word. You know, like 20 vocals, 30 drums, pump up the volume in it, but a dog's dinner as well. Yeah. Really bad dog's dinner. And we pressed it up, went to EMI, the big pressing plant, and they were entertaining kind of small fry, one-off things at that stage. And I had a load of them in the back of my Fiat Uno, and I went around selling them. And in those days, there were record shops in the back of a laundrette in Slough. Oh yeah, everywhere. There was one in underneath a news agency in a suburban bit of Maidenhead. You know, there was a circuit of.
Absolutely.
You know, everybody was mad for it.
Yeah. Did you get a distributor for it? Because that was one of the with the first record that I was ever involved in releasing. I was just like, oh, got a great tune. We'll press it up. Went down Hackney, had it pressed up. Went down in the car, collected it, 500 copies of a thing. It's like, went round the shops around Leeds. Yeah. It was great. Now what?
The first record I made got in the charts, and I had a bidding war on it. And I was sitting like Little Lord Fauntleroy and Virgin Records with these, you know, hey, we really want to do this, you know. And then, you know, the deconstruction guys, James Barton, who ran Cream, was the deconstruction guy, and I was like, we're going deconstruction. And the guy I did the record with, who had the sampler, was a year above me at school, and wasn't a club type. He was a Jean-Michel Jarre type, and you know, it was a kind of symbiotic relationship where I was creaming him for information about how to make music, and he was creaming me for contacts and what goes on in clubs and what's all that about. And when it blew up, because the record, of course, was full of samples and was a collage, Dog's Dinner collage, 15 vocal samples in it, got in the charts, and then someone with the sample went, "Oi!" And the record got pulled straight away afterwards. So which
sample was it?
It was a Fatback Band sample, and it wasn't anything to do with the Fatback Band. It was a guy who owned Fatback Band's catalogue, who had probably bought it for a bung, and so I was introduced very quickly to the multitudinous layers of sharkery and dodginess of the music industry, and I was kind of like, okay, it wasn't a sort of. It was a can of worms to try and clear the record anyway. You know, you've got so many bits from so many people. It was a kind of, what do you do with this? So we ended up giving all our rights to this guy. He went, "Oi." So he took the can of worms. And it was like, you can have it, mate, because it's not ours, certainly, and it's not yours, because there's all these people in it. But it was an interesting thing that, obviously I'm a collage artist, and copyright is a thing that I have a relationship with, that is kind of, people can go, "Oh, is that yours?" Or, you know, and it's a theme that's gone through all my work, do edits.
Well, it's a massive theme on, you know, on those. Those are
appropriation of things and sort of twisting things and mucking about with them. And I'm not wanting to exploit stuff. You know, I have a moral attitude towards editing something and flogging it down the river or whatever. But at the same time, I think there's a sort of grey area where it's fun to muck about with copyright. Basically. I love the KLF. I like all the people that kind of blur the boundaries with that. Because I'd rather have that than, oh no, you can't do that. You know, I'm not trying to make money. I'm not making money. You know, it's just about having fun and chopping things up, and it's something that I love.
Yeah, and I think back then, I mean, who knew? Really, you know, so many people.
It was a moving landscape, and it's a moving landscape now, you know, and you're finding out all the time that things aren't quite what you thought they were. You know, I didn't know that was a sample. You know, And it's, well, does it make it any better or worse, or you know what? It certainly changes it, changes your relationship with it, but things sound better for being sampled. You know, so I think think of all those records you would have.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the world would be a less fun place without all those samples.
Led Zeppelin's catalogue.
Yeah. But I have a moral, you know, opinion about it. I think you've got to be open to debate about it, you know. So there I was, in and out of the top 40, in and out of fancy record labeldom, and back out. And then the next thing we did, we had another hit, and there was a fork in the road where I was in a band with this guy who basically wanted to go all the way commercially, and I was kind of desperate to be in the thick of doing house music, doing deep house, doing the club stuff that I was doing the graphics, and there was a fork in the road. Lots of money to be had if I went in with this band, and I had a taster of it. I went to, this band was called Chicane, and it was off the back of, we did some great music, but my partner was really wanting to take it commercially, and that meant trance, which I couldn't deal with and couldn't get with. I didn't like it. And, you know, there was a gravy train leaving, and I just thought, no. And the point at which I thought, no, this was all, you know, he'd already kind of taken it to a level where he had a Ferrari, you know, and he's like, come on, let's do this, you know, hundreds of £1,000s, publishing deals and things. And I was like, just not feeling this. And I was on stage in Germany, so I went on tour with the band, and I was behind an unplugged synthesizer in Dresden.
Of all cities in all the world.
On a kids' TV show that was in some Dresden kind of. It was fucked up. And the band before me were called Pharaoh.
Was there a puppet involved?
No, thank God.
Thank God for that.
But there was a band called Pharaoh who dressed up as Egyptians, and were like techno steps from Germany.
Oh.
And they were all sleeping with each other because we were in the hotel with them afterwards. But it was all the girl Pharaohs were getting it on, and all the boy Pharaohs were getting it on separately. Right. So it was a big gay-loving Pharaoh thing going on in the floor above us in the hotel. But that wasn't the point. I'd already could cut the whole Chicane thing off, sitting behind the synthesizer and having to mime kind of trancey synth moves with my best shirt on. That I just looked like a knob, and I felt like a knob. And that was it. Fucked it off, fucked all the money off, and set up a load of clubs, set up a deep house label, and cracked on. And it was a very good move, because they went off and did Bryan Adams and things that make me cringe. And
happy days, eh?
It would, you know.
Yeah. No regrets?
No. There's another thing that happened with Chicane when the money came along, is there was a wanker radar thing that happened, where people see that you could be lucrative, so they find you, wankers find you, you know. And I was like, there's a lot of wankers about all of a sudden, you know. And the proper club scene, you know, it's like EDM now. Yeah. You know, that fucking world is full of knobheads. And there's a beautiful place, there's a beautiful culture there that they've totally ignored, you know. And it's like, I went straight into that culture in London, out of this, that gave me the willies. And it was beautiful. It was sort of, New Phonic Records had just started. We started at night. You know, the Egypt Boys were doing their thing, Harvey was doing his thing. Re-edits had just kind of kicked off. We were in the thick of it. And I was with my long-term club running partner, Stuart Patson, who I ran a label with. And, you know, we basically hooked up when I was starting doing flyers for him when I was a teenager. And we've worked he's now got clubs in London and he's a club owner, but we worked for sort of 15 years as promoters from then on, and we're plugged into that Blair It network thing, and started the Faith parties with Terry Farley and Bill Brewster and Dave Jarvis off the back of that. And so it set me up, and it set me up for, you know, I don't have a diary, but I've got my diary on the wall, which is all the sort of crap that's been designed over the years. So I wish I kept diaries, but doing that this last week has been really good, because it's kind of my diary.